All right, boys and girls, I'm here going to teach you a really cool strategy for multiplying numbers. It's called the area model. So before we get into the area model, you need to know what area means. Area, when we're talking about it, means the space inside of a flat shape. So if you take a look at this flat shaped rectangle, you can see that the area of this rectangle is 12. If I were to count the boxes inside, you can count that there are a total of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 boxes inside of this rectangle. Therefore, the area of this rectangle is 12. Well, let's see why that really is the case. If you take a look, this rectangle has a length of 4 and it has a width of 3. And so if I want to have an easier way to figure out how many boxes there are inside of this rectangle, instead of counting them like I did one by one, I could say here that I actually have 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and each of these 3 rows has 4 in it. So I can say that I have 3 rows of 4. Well, of means multiplication. So really, to figure this out, I could do the multiplication problem instead of doing, well, it's 4 plus 4 plus, wow, that was a terrible 4. 4 plus 4 plus 4. I could also say, well, that means the same thing as 3 times 4. 3 groups of 4, which we know is 12. So that's why there is a formula for area, which to find the area, you simply take the length of the shape or the length of the rectangle and you multiply it by the width, just like we did here. So we're going to take this general idea and use this to help us to multiply big numbers. And so there's a couple different skills we need to have in order to be able to use the area model. First of all, we need to be able to put numbers into old school expanded form. For example, if we're working with the number 345, we know that that really means 300 plus 40 plus 5. We also need to know how to box and dot in order to use the area model. So 600 times 40, box the fact and multiply, that got us 24, and then dot our zeros. And then you do need to know how to add numbers. And we haven't really worked on that much, so if you struggle with that, pay really close attention when we get to that step. Okay, so let's say we want to use the area model to multiply 98 times 4. Now, I could just do this using repeated addition. So this would be 98 groups of 4. That seems really, really ridiculous. So instead, we're going to try this area model. I told you that we needed to be able to put numbers into expanded form. Well, I know that 98 in expanded form is 90 plus 8. And I know that 4 in expanded form is simply 4. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to acknowledge the fact that 98 is a 2-digit number and 4 is a 1-digit number. So I'm going to create a rectangle that goes 2 spaces across, 1 space for the 90 part of my number, and 1 space for the 8 part of my number. And then we only need to go down this rectangle to make space for the 4, because it's only a 1-digit number. So you can see here, I have now created a rectangle, and I'm going to draw a line right down that plus sign. So we have room for 90 plus 8, which is 98, and then this way is the 4. And so that was the expanded form part. Now I need to box and dot. So in this box here, this is the multiplication problem, 4 times 90. Well, I'm going to go ahead and box and dot. I know 4 times 9 is 36. And then I don't have any zeros here, but I have 1 0 here. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my 0 here. So 4 times 90 is 360. Now over here, this is for the multiplication problem of 4 times 8. So I'm going to go ahead and box and dot. 4 times 8. Well, 4 times 8 I know is 32. And I don't have any zeros here, and I don't have any zeros here, so I don't need any zeros in my answer. So now I know that the answer to my question lays in the area of this big rectangle. Well, and you don't need to actually cross that out. I'm just showing you. But I can see I have 360 plus I have 32. And this becomes the addition part. So I have the part 360, and then I have 32. Well, addition is part of COAS. So I need to make sure that I'm lining the tens place up with my tens place and my ones place up with my ones place. And if it helps, you know, 32 doesn't have any hundreds, so I can annex in that 0 there. And now I'm going to go ahead and add these. And since this is part of COAS, we add column by column by column. Well, 0 plus 2 is 2. 6 plus 3 is 9. 3 plus 0 is 3. So I know that my final answer to 98 times 4 is 392. Seems like a lot of work. I'm going to work through it a little bit faster this time. So if you take a look, this time I'm dealing with 52 times 6. So I need to be able to put numbers in expanded form. 52 is made up of 50 plus 2, and 6 is just made up of 6. So this is going to be a 2-digit by 1-digit problem. So I'm going to have to make enough space for a 2-digit going across. That is the 50 part of my expanded form plus the 2 part. And 6 is only a 1-digit number, so I just need room for the 6. And that creates my rectangle. And I'm going to draw a line right down here by my plus sign. So I'm going to put little multiplication man here just to help me remember this is multiplication. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to figure out what 6 times 50 is by using box and dot. 6 times 5 is 30. And I don't have any zeros here, but I do have 1 here. So 6 times 500 is actually 300. Now I'm going to use box and dot to figure out what 6 times 2 is. Well, 6 times 2, that's just a multiplication fact, 12, and I don't have any zeros. So now I have all the parts of my answer. Now I'm going to take everything inside of my rectangle, that's the area, and I'm going to go ahead and add them together. So I need 300 is my first part, and 12, I need to line them up correctly. I can annex in my 0. So now I'm just going to add. 0 plus 2 is 2, 0 plus 1 is 1, and 3 plus 0 is 3. So I end up with 312 as my total answer because I added the 300 and the 12 pieces of my answer to get my final answer. So let's look what it looks like when I'm not doing a 2 by 1. Let's look what it looks like when I'm doing a 3 by 1. So here I have to put 453 in expanded form. That is 400 plus 50 plus 3. And again, if I'm putting 2 in expanded form, that would just be 2. So now I have a 3-digit number by a 1-digit number. So now when I draw my rectangle, I need to go 3 across. I need to make enough room to have 400 plus 50 plus 3. And then going down, I still just have my 1-digit number of 2. So we know area is dealing with these rectangles. I'm going to draw a rectangle. So I have 3 numbers going across. So I'm going to go down here right at the plus sign just to break up the 400 from the 50. And now I'm going to go right down here between the 50 and the 3 right at the plus sign. And all I have here is the 2. So now becomes the box and dot part. So first I'm going to figure out what's 2 times 400. Well, 2 times 4 I know is 8. And I don't have any zeros here, but I do have 2 zeros here. So I'm going to put in 2 zeros here. So we know that part of our answer will be 800. For this box, it's going to be 2 times 50. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. And I don't have any zeros here, but I do have 1 here. So I'm going to add another 0 because 2 times 50 is 100. And now I need to figure out this part of the answer. It's going to be 2 times 3, which is 6. So now I simply need to add these 3 parts together. I'm not adding 2 numbers together now. Now I'm adding 3 numbers together. So I want to make sure I don't forget any of them. So I'm first going to write down 800. And now I need to line that up with 100. Well, that's a 1 in the hundreds place with 2 zeros. No big deal. But now I need to figure out where this 6 goes. Well, this 6 is actually worth 6 ones, and the ones place is right here. So I'm going to line that up here. 6 doesn't have any tens, and it doesn't have any hundreds. So here I go, guys. I've lined up all 3 of my numbers. 0 plus 0 plus 6 is 6. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. And 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 0 is still 9. So my final answer is 906. I had part of my answer was 800, part of my answer was 100, part of my answer was 6. When I added all of those parts together, I get 906. Let's try another one here. And I know that I need to put 803 in expanded form. Well, that's 8 is worth 800. What's great about expanded form is when I get to a 0, I don't have to worry about it. So the next piece of my puzzle is 3. And then putting 9 in expanded form we know is just 9. And what's really great about this is even though 803 is a 3-digit number, it only has 2 parts in expanded form. So I can think about it like a 2-by-1 problem. I only need enough space to go across for 2 parts. I have the 800 and then I have the 3. That 0 doesn't matter. And then going down, I just need enough room for that 9. So here we go. And I'm going to draw a line right down at that plus sign just to separate the 800 and the 3. And now it's time for box and dot. 9 times 8, using my 9's finger trick, that's 7 on the left of my trigger finger and 2 on the right. And then I have 2 zeros to add on to that answer. And then of course I have 9 times 3, put down my trigger finger, I have 2 on the left and 7 on the right, and I don't have any zeros. So at this point, I know the different parts of my answer are 7,220. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in. And the other part of my answer is 27. I need to make sure I line that up correctly in the tens and ones. I don't have any hundreds in this part, and I don't have any thousands. So I'm going to go ahead and add these pieces together to get the whole thing. 0 plus 7 is 7. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 plus 0 is 2. Put my comma in where it goes, and 7 plus 0 is 7. So my total answer, guys, is 7,227. Now, if I were going to go to a 4-by-1 multiplication problem, it would be the exact same thing. We just need to build a bigger number. So let's say I have 3,274 times 5. So this is going to be in expanded form 3,000 plus 200, that is a 2, I promise, plus 70 plus 4. And then this, of course, is going to be just 5. So this is now 4 pieces going across times 1 piece going across. So when I build my rectangle, I need to build it long enough to get in the 3,000 plus the 200 plus the 70 plus the 4 going across. And then, of course, I need to go down with the 5. So when I build this out, it's going to be a longer rectangle because it's got more pieces. And I need to separate the 3,000 from the 200, from the 70, from the 4. Now I'm going to go through this part really quickly because I want to show you the addition part when you have so many pieces. So 5 times 3 is 15, and then we have the 3 zeros. So that first part is 15,000. Here we have 5 times 2 is 10 with 2 zeros here. So that part is going to be worth 1,000. Here we have 5 times 7, I know, is 35, plus just 1 0. And then here we have 5 times 4, which is 20. Now when we get to the addition part, now that we have 4 pieces, 4 is really hard to add 4 in a row. So what I like to do is I like to take these 2 pieces and add them together first. So I have 15,000, commas help me to line up my numbers. And then I have 1,000. So 15,000 and 1,000. And I add those together. I can annex in that 0 here. I get 0, 0, 0. 1 plus 5 is 6. And 1 plus 0 is 1. So I know that this piece plus this piece, I've used them. I get 16,000. So I'm going to kind of write that down here. And then if I add this number, 350, and this number, which is 20, and I don't have any zeros. When I add that together, I get 0 plus 0, which is 0, 5 plus 2, which is 7, and 3 plus 0, which is 3. I get 370. But I want to know what the whole thing is. So now I need to add these 2 numbers together. So I can do that over here. I get 16,000. And I'm going to add that to 370. I got to make sure I line these up right. I don't have any thousands and I don't have any